So we should be able to get started very shortly.
Hi.
How are you, Mr. Burg? How are you? How's it going?
Great. Good. Thank you. Please call me Bob, and thank you. Everything's great. I'm sorry about the mix-up trying to get on, but I'll straight.
No worries at all. We are super duper excited to have you. And the community has been looking forward to this for a while and cannot wait to gain a lot of insights from you today.
April.
So yeah, I guess we'll just dive right into it. Why not?
Sure. Sure.
So uh I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce you, express your buy to the community, and then we'll just take it right from there. Um, for anyone who is not familiar with with Bob, he is been successfully showing entrepreneurs, leaders, and sales professional how to communicate their values and accelerate their business growth for over 30 years. And It was best initially known for his sales classic, Endless Referrals, but more recently, The Go-Giver, which is his business parable, which he co-authored with John David Mann, has really created a worldwide movement and spoken to a lot of people, including myself. While part of a four-book series, the Go Giver itself has sold more than 1 million copies. It's been translated into 30 languages. It was rated number 10 on Inc. magazine's list of most motivational books ever written, and it was on HubSpot's 20 most highly rated sales books of all time. Bob is the founder of the Go Giver Community Network, the first of its kind online business community created by and for Go Givers. He's an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. And he is also an unapologetic animal fanatic and served on the board of directors for Furry Friends Adoption and Clinic in his town of Jupiter, Florida. So without further ado, let's welcome in the most exciting way, Mr. Bob Burg.
Thank you
Welcome,
so
Bob.
much for having me. Thank you, everybody. Great to see y'all.
Excellent. So the format of this today is just going to be a straight, question and answer. So everybody, I hope you did follow my recommendation and actually read the book Go Giver. I'm hoping you've come with all your questions because this is going to be a great session here. But initially, before we even get started, just for those people that didn't really follow my instructions to read the book, um, Bob, could you just give us a nice little summary of the old concept of the book and anything else that you want to share just to get things started?
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple, actually, very elementary, and that's the way we John David Mann, my co-author, and I like to keep it. It's a short little business parable. And the main premise is really nothing more than understanding that shifting your focus, and this is really where it all begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more pleasant, a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of woo-woo, way out there, magical, mystical type of reason. It's actually very practical, very logical. And that is when you're that person who can take your focus off yourself and instead place it on serving others, discovering their needs, their wants, their desires, right? When moving from a focus on ourselves to a focus on helping other people solve their problems and challenges, making it not about ourselves, but about helping to move them closer to happiness. People feel good about you. They feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you, and they definitely want to tell others about you. They want to be what we call your personal walking ambassadors. And so that's really what it's about.
That is incredible, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think here at XSITE Capital, that has been really the secret to our success. Just giving as much value to as many people as possible, without necessarily expecting anything in return. But like you refer to many times in the book, that the universe has a way of making
Yeah.
making it worth it for you.
Yeah. I mean, I call it, giving without attachment to the results. Because, we know that when we continue to provide value to the lives, as you said, of a lot of people, it creates that benevolent context where good things are going to happen. We don't always know directly from whom or what have you, or how it's going to happen, but it's not particularly magical. I mean, it's fairly it's predictable that you'll be successful. It's not predictable where and from whom it will not necessarily come. And I think that's the thing, and that's why you do it. You ask yourself, how can I bring value to this person's life, and this person's life, and this person's life, and this person's life, and as that happens, you begin to develop that those know, like, and trust relationships with so many people that good things begin to happen.
That's great. That's great. And I mean, there were like 5 major laws that were discussed in this book. And I mean, the words the words that we've described so far has really kind of described very well the law of value, which says that your true worth is always going to be determined by how much you give in value than you take in payment. This is a slight difference in that particular law than what we've just said. Could you really explain what that meant when you said how much you give in value than what you take in payment?
Yeah.
Can you break that down a little more?
Yeah, it's about the experience. It's the entire customer experience. And it's from the moment you first meet that person, whether it's an outbound call or meeting at that you happen to meet them somewhere at a local event, or an inbound from some website thing, or whatever it happens to be, or an introduction from someone else. From the moment you meet that person, that initial conversation, the follow through the sales process, the referral process, it's really how you make this person feel during every touch point. And that's really the key. It's like in the story with Ernesto Iafrate with the hot dog stand. A hot dog's a hot dog, but it's how he made the kids and their parents feel special. Everything was about them. Everything was about the experience. And that's really what we mean, because we deal, no matter what we do these days, we're dealing basically in commodities. Most things are pretty similar. So the distinguishing aspect is you, right? People are going to do business with you before they're going to do business because of your product, service, company, what have you. So you've got to be that additional value. You're the one that provides that experience and makes it special. So, how do you really do that? Well, the good news is there are dozens, if not hundreds, of ways to communicate that additional value, but it tends to come down to 5, what John and I call elements of value. And those are excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation. And to the degree that you're able to communicate those 5 elements of value at every touch point, that's the degree that you take price and you take your competition, in a sense, out of the picture.
That is powerful. That is powerful. Well, without, I mean, if there are any questions, by the way, please feel free to add them in the chat, and we will go ahead and ask them. And please, any of the XSITE team members, please feel free to to join us and ask any questions whenever the questions come up.
Yeah. Dr. Can I ask a question actually while we're on this
Go
topic?
for it.
Hey, first of all, Mr. Bob Burg, thank you so much. I read your Go Giver book back in 2021, and it changed the way I went about life. But along with my dad always described me as a go-getter. And since I read your book, I've been a go-giver. So thank you.
So, so it's interesting, when you look at the different words and their meanings, if you when you define a go-getter as someone just looking to get it, that's a negative connotation. But if you look at a go-getter as someone who takes action, that's actually a great thing.
Mm-hmm. And so, that's what he's referring to.
Right. And so we want people to be both go-getters, people of action, because, we're all business people. We know without action, nothing's going to happen. You can have the greatest ideas, the best thoughts, the nicest intent. But, if you don't do anything with it, it's as good as not having it. So we like people to be go-getters, people of action, and go-givers, people who are absolutely laser focused on providing immense value to others. We would say the opposite of a go-giver is a go-taker, right? That's that person who feels almost entitled, if you will, to take without having added value to the other person, to the process, to the situation. And while there are certainly go-takers who do well financially, it's a lot tougher to do business that way as a go-taker, because you really have no one on your side. It's a matter of just working really, really hard and doing it for a long time and having to a lot of times replace different people because you don't really have relationships. So, and plus with go-takers, because of the type of people they are, their personal relationships tend to not be very happy. And so we would say, when you combine being a go-getter and a go-giver, then, you have a much better chance of not only having a great business, but it's a sustainably great and profitable business. And, your personal life also tends to be a lot more productive as well. So I love that.
That is incredible. Yeah. So the second law was the law of compensation,
right,
which means that your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them, right?
Right.
So that seems very similar sometimes to the law of value to me. Can you distinguish those two laws and kind of, in your words, break them down and help us understand the nuances between those two laws?
Sure. So the law of value is all about the experience you provide, okay? The value you give in exchange for the money that you receive. That's the core foundational principle, the law of value. The law of compensation is all about how many people's lives you touch with that value, okay? How many people you serve, right? So Nicole Martin, the CEO in the story, explained to Joe, the protege, that, it's not enough just to serve one person, even though you're serving them really, really, really well. In order to make a healthy income, you've also got to impact the lives of a whole lot of people. And that's really what Law 2 is all about. So, we could almost say law number 1 is about the quality. Law number 2 is about the quantity. Both are important. Now you need to focus on the quality, right? But we can't ignore the quantity. We also need to be able to scale. We need to be able to reach more people. That's why building relationships are so very important.
This is actually a question by Clarence Carter in the chat that says the concept of giving without expectation of receiving can be challenging for some people. How can individuals overcome this mindset and embrace the idea of being a go-giver?
So I actually don't call it giving without expectation. I call it giving without attachment. And I think there's a difference. Now, I think when people say giving without expectation, they mean giving without attachment. But words matter, and so let me sort of share my thoughts on this. If you give without expectation, you just you give and you just think, okay, that's it. I mean, write out a check to the Humane Society. You don't expect the animals to appreciate it or give you any money, anything in advance. It's just you're not expecting anything. Okay. Now, I believe that when you are doing business the go-giver way, I believe you should expect great things to come back. Okay. But there's a difference between that expectation that it's going to happen, which is confidence, and attachment. Attachment means our sense of happiness and peace of mind is dependent upon a certain event taking place. So that would mean we give great value to someone and we say to ourselves, well, they better give something back to me. They better do business with me. Okay. Or even if we don't say it to them, right, we're saying it to ourselves. In fact, if they don't, I'm going to be really ticked off. Right? or I'm going to be broke, or I'm going to be, that's attachment. And you can never, and the Stoics talked about this a couple thousand years ago. You can never be, and so did the Buddhists. I mean, you can never, if you're attached, that's where misery takes place. Because if you're attached to something, again, your sense of happiness and peace of mind depends upon that happening. I might say, well, but isn't that okay if you actually get what it is you want? No, because if you're attached to it, even as you're in the process of receiving this thing, because of your attachment, the energy you're putting into it, you're worried that something's going to happen to mess it up, or, well, what happens after this one's over? What am I going to do about, right? There's that attachment. So I like to say, and I didn't make this up, these are things I've learned from so many others, is to replace attachment with preference. You'd prefer this thing to happen. You'd prefer this deal to take place. You'd prefer this person to be interested. And then if they are, great, you preferred it. But if they don't, or if it doesn't, well, that's okay. It's not like you were attached to it. You preferred it. So again, it goes back to, fine. First of all, understanding that when you provide value to the lives of many people, the chances are great that fantastic things are going to happen. But you need to do it without the biggest challenge is not understanding that. I think we all understand that. It's being able to do this without attachment to the results.
That's fantastic. Yeah, please feel free to continue to drop the questions in the chat if you have any.
I do have a question for Burg. So the concepts you talk about in the book are very simple but yet profound. I'm interested to know, like, how do you came about in the understanding of these concepts? Because a lot of sales and what is being thought around in business is not necessarily that whole concept of going out there and giving more value without like having that expectation as discussed. So how did you come about this concept, this attachment to expectation?
I've just like John, my co-author, we both studied success since we were I think he probably started younger when he was in his 20s. I started when I was in my, I guess, late 20s, really studying success and successful people and watching what they did and learning from them and reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of audios. And back then it was tapes, so I'm kind of dating myself here because that was a long time ago, but always learning. And what I saw is that the people who were the most sustainably successful did things in a certain way, and it was always about finding a way to make another person's life better. And there was nothing self-sacrificial about it, nothing martyrish about it, nothing doormatty about it. It was simply understanding that to the degree we work in a free market type environment, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one's forced to do business with anyone else, right? They do so on their own volition. I often, when I speak at a sales conference, the first thing I'll say is, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet, right? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, and they're not even going to buy from you just because you're a nice person. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so, which is fine when you think about it. Why else would anybody buy from us? And so what that means is, and it was fairly easy to put together for me, that if you want people to do business with you, you better find a way to be of value to them. And make it worth their while. So that was pretty much, how I think both John and I came across that. Does that answer your question? Does that? And I think, Kayla, was it your hand that was raised, or
It
was it?
absolutely does.
It was somebody's hand was raised earlier.
It was mine, Bob. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm great. I love your book so much, and
Thank you.
everything behind, just giving of value first. And I know that you've had to have had some people reach out and tell you their personal stories, whether it was about their personal life or their business, how your book impacted them. So I was just curious if, me asking that question, if one story in particular came to mind that you wouldn't mind sharing with us, how your book made a difference in their life or business.
Well, we have a lot of people who tell us that they share the book with their family, with their children. Some have had family discussions about it. We've heard, basically at different religious organizations have done the same thing at their, so we love when we hear something like that, because it's, it's a business book, but it's a life book. So, and there's really no difference when you think about it. I mean, universal laws or laws, principles, when we talk about success, we can be talking in terms of financial, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, social, relational, probably a dozen other ways, right? But, one of my favorite stories actually took place very soon after the book came out, which was in about 2008, and I think it was about 2009 that we got this email from a guy. He lived in Pittsburgh. He was a professional roofer. He repaired roofs, and he had said that when the book came out, we were in the middle of the economic crisis, of 2000. It kind of started at the end of 2007, 2008, and so forth. And he said that roofers in his area, their business all just went down the tubes because people just didn't have the money to repair their roofs, and they didn't want to take a chance on so forth. So his business really tanked, and he was doing the same thing all his colleagues were doing, trying to give the least value for the most money, because, well, what else are you going to do when you don't have money coming in, right? And so he read the book, and he said, wow, I've been going about this all wrong. I need to do the opposite thing. I need to look at how I can give the most value. Now, remember, value doesn't necessarily mean you have to put a lot of money into it, but you have to put thought into it. So what he did is he came up with this great idea, and that is he discovered how to deal with the insurance companies, the home insurers, in such a way that he figured out how the homeowners could get their money reimbursed to them the most amount in the least amount of time and with the least hassle. So now when he saw a roof that needed repair, he wouldn't knock and say, do you want your roof repaired? Because it wasn't a matter of whether they wanted it repaired. It was a matter of they weren't going to do it because they didn't feel comfortable financially. And he would say, I can help you to be able to get the money that the insurance company is supposed to pay you. Do it quick, do it seamlessly, and get the most amount. His business just, I hate to say, went through the roof, but it did, and he said it just totally turned his entire business around. So what he did is he found a way to give as much value. He found a way to solve problems and a way to do that others weren't doing. So to me, that was just the ultimate in finding a way to make something work for others. And as a result, like Sam, one of the mentors in the story, told Joe, the protege, make your win all about the other person's win. And that's when it comes back to you.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's a great way to segue into the law of influence, which states that your influence is determined by how abundantly you place others people's interests first. I think that was exactly what you were referring to in the last sentence. Can you please do a little deeper dive on that? Because this is a very powerful one that, because the natural inclination for most people is to figure out, their own interests first, and then think about other people's interests later. So how do you put this into practice and crystallize it for us?
Yeah. And again, it's when we say place the other person's interest first, we don't mean that you harm yourself. There's nothing about this that's self-sacrificial. It's understanding, as Joe learned from several of the mentors in the story, the golden rule of business, of sales, is simply that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's powerful.
Tenny, did you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
The question I have is simple. A lot of time you wanna add value, but sometimes the value you're trying to render to folks, usually from your perspective, how do you usually identify that whatever you're contributing to the next person is the right value that you're supposed to be giving to them?
Wonderful question. Wonderful question. This is where a lot of people unintentionally miss the mark, and for good reason. So first of all, let's distinguish between price and value, because that's where it begins. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. Okay. Value is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. So in other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to that other person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you make a healthy profit? Now, this is the key, because value is always in the eyes of the beholder. It's not what we, just like you said, it's not what we think is of value. It's what they think is of value. But as human beings, because we all operate from our own set of beliefs, unconscious beliefs, beginning with upbringing and then environment, schooling, news media, television, movies, and everything, we have but based on, from the time we're very young, we operate from this belief system. We see the world in a certain way, and we tend to think that everybody else sees the world basically the same way, which makes sense. How could it be anything else? It's all we know, but it's not so. And so what I find to be of value may not be what you find to be of value. So if I'm trying to provide value based on what I think is of value, I'm going with on a long shot of luck that we happen to think the same way. Okay. So the best thing we can do is to ask questions. This is why the discovery aspect of sales, the discovery aspect of the relationship is so very important, because we need to determine what they need, what they want, what they desire, what they find to be of value, and why. And that's what we bring them. So just a wonderful, wonderful question.
Amazing. Fantastic. Dr. Nkem Eziamama asked, what advice do you have for someone struggling to shift from a go-getter to a go-giver mentality, especially in a competitive environment?
Okay. So I'm just going to reframe it a little and say shifting from a go-taker to a go-giver, because we want people to be go-getters as well as go-givers, because go-getters are people of action. So, but I understand the question. It's a good one. They need to understand why it's in their best interest to do that. Okay. And so remember, I was saying earlier about how nobody's going to buy from you because you need the money. So let's say somebody goes into let's do this as an example. I'm the salesperson and you are the prospective customer. Okay. And I really need the money. So I'm going to go in there, and my goal is to just get your money. Right. So, yeah, I asked some questions because I've been trained to do so, but I'm not really listening to your answer in order to understand you. I'm really listening just so I can kind of figure out how to sharp angle you into a close later on. I'm not really trying my best to understand what motivates you and your beliefs. When you have an objection, I'm a little defensive, because this objection of yours is standing in the way of my money. So I'm maybe answering based on how I've been taught to answer objections, but I may not even be answering the right objection, because so often an objection someone gives is not the real objection, but they don't even know what the real objection is. They just know that there's something that they don't understand. So they just kind of come up with something and right. And I'm closing early and I'm closing often. And at the very end, when I ask for the order, you kind of know that I'm not really as interested in helping you as I am in the money. Okay. And so my question would be, are you more likely or less likely to want to do business with me right now? And probably the answer is less likely. So, excuse me. Sorry. And so now, though, let's say same situation, same person. I still need the money. But knowing that that's not the reason why you're going to buy from me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of suspend my self-interest. I'm going to put it to the side. And I'm going to focus on bringing you a great experience within this presentation. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you questions, and I'm going to listen. And I'm going to listen to what you say, and I'm going to put my eyes and my ears and my heart into listening to really understand what's going on with you and what you need, what you want, what you desire. Only after and when you answer, I'm not going to assume I know what you mean just by what you said. I'm going to tactfully and respectfully dig deeper and make sure that I really feel I know what you're meaning. Only at the point that I am positive that I understand your needs, wants, and desires am I going to begin to connect the benefit of my product or service with those needs, wants, and desires. When you have an objection, I'm not going to try to overcome it. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask questions and really look at working within the objection, discovering the actual root of the objection, what it's really all about, so that then the two of us can work together toward figuring out, the answer. By the time I'm ready to ask for the order and ask you to buy, I'm simply asking you to take action on something you've already told me you want to do. But more than anything else, you can sense throughout this entire meeting that I have your well-being at heart. Now, my question would be, are you more likely or less likely to do business with me right now? And I think the chances are probably more likely. Once this go-taker understands the benefit to them of being a go-giver and actually placing your interests first, two things are going to happen. One, they're going to find that they're more successful, which they like. Second, they're going to realize how really good it feels to know that you're in the business of helping people solve problems and get what they want, and that you happen to earn really good money as a result of doing so. This is why John David Mann and I say that money is simply an echo of value.
Great. This is incredible. There are some questions coming in, but just to follow up on that particular question, one of the questions I have gotten with someone that I had read this book was the fact that they essentially did not work in sales per se. Worked as a doctor in a hospital, and they were salaried. So their compensation, or so to speak, was somewhat fixed. And so the question in those in that setting is, I mean, how do you, what do you tell to, obviously there's still a lot to learn in this, the whole idea of giving significant value and giving the most value to the most people. It still works even in those settings. What is your response when people say this does not necessarily apply to my type of work?
Well, in terms of making more money, it obviously applies more to an entrepreneur when you can expand your reach. But it still applies to anyone, and because just like no one's going to buy from you because you need the money, no one's going to hire you and continue to pay you a salary because you have a mortgage payment to meet. So your job is still to add value to your customers. Now, your customers may not be the end user, or they may be. It could be your colleagues, it could be your supervisor, it could be the team that you lead, it could be a whole lot, and it could be the end user. But by creating as much value as you can and touching the lives of many more people, a couple things are going to happen. First, you're going to make yourself indispensable. And so when times do go bad, you're going to stay, right? You're not going to be let go. But also, you're probably going to be discovered by others and have more opportunities come your way. There's a great book about that, if you've ever read. It's called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. It was written in 1910. And I really recommend it. If you can, get the original version. There's a retro version that they sell on Amazon. It's called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. You can also get it online for free, I believe, on a ebook kind of thing. But try to make sure it's the original, because many people have kind of put their own touches to it, and which is okay, but it's never as good as the original. But he talks about that very same concept.
That's fantastic. And I mean, even in those settings, the law of influence still applies, because if you
are absolutely, they all
placing other people's interests first, you're always going to have more influence, which creates more opportunities for you in those
Instead of being an entrepreneur, you're an intrapreneur.
It's an entrepreneur. Absolutely. No questions about it. Some questions are coming in. It seems like people have woken up.
I got Kayla on the left, on the upper left on mine. I don't know if she's on the upper left on yours, but on mine, she's on the upper left, and it looks like her hand's raised. If we want to.
Okay, Kayla, go ahead, and then I'll talk to you.
Hey, Bob, thank you so much for being here. What do you think is the best way to create value from the beginning of the cycle?
It's it depends first. If you're talking generically, it's to create relationships with people, and you do that in a way that that they find to be of value. When you're in an initial conversation with someone, it's asking them questions about themselves as opposed to focusing on you. I have what I call feel-good questions that are simply they're not salesy, they're not prospecting, they're not intrusive, they're not invasive. They simply make that person feel good about you and about themselves. And that's the key. So questions such as, how did you get started in the so-and-so business? Or how did you get your start in business? That's a question most people are never asked. And they love answering that question. Asking them, what do you enjoy most about what you do? Again, it's just a feel-good, wonderful question. I call another question. It's a separate question. It's what I call the one key question, and this will distinguish you from pretty much anyone else. And that is to ask, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with is a good prospective client for you? Right? Or if they're not in sales, it would be, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with is a good connection for you, or someone you'd like to meet? And so there's all sorts of ways, and just so right there, you're creating value for them, just in terms of the connection and how you're making them feel about themselves, which of course makes them feel good about you. From there, you can go through the follow-through process as part of the system and so forth. If you want to have those questions, if you just go to Burg, burg.com/10Q. So it's 10 and then the letter Q for 10 questions. Actually, I can write it in here, and I don't know if it's going to pop up on the screen, but you can let's see, 10Q. Yeah, it didn't pop up, but you can copy and paste. Oh, it looks to it's the host and panelist. So sorry about that. So it didn't go to everyone. So if you want to put that out there, but you remember, you never have time to ask more than just a couple of questions, right, during any one conversation, or else you'll kind of come across like an investigative reporter. But ask those first couple questions. Ask anyone that you meet, how did you get started in the so-and-so business, and what do you enjoy most about what you do? Okay, and right there. Boy, those are questions they've never been asked before, right? Because people don't focus on them. People are focused on themselves. And then the one key question after the rapport has begun to be established, and you might frame it like this, Dave or Mary, I always love connecting good people with other good people. How can I know if someone I'm speaking with is a good customer for you? And they love that you answered. They can tell you're looking to add value to their lives.
That's incredible. Incredible. And then we have some questions that came in. How do you interact with a goat taker? And is there a point where you would limit interactions with them? Would you ever coach them if they seem unaware?
Yeah, well, so great question. And remember, there's nothing about being a go-giver that's congruent with being taken advantage of. And so if you feel someone's just trying to take from you and so forth, and yeah, there's nothing that says you need to continue to do business with them. Now, remember, they may not even know they're a go-taker. So it might be that, at a certain point, you take them aside and in a kind, tactful way, you let them know that, you enjoy interacting with them and you've enjoyed referring them to people. And you're wondering if they feel comfortable, either referring to you or whatever it is that you'd want to do. And if not, and you can even ask the other way, or if there's some reason that they feel uncomfortable with doing so. And sometimes they hadn't thought of it because they haven't been taught this kind of thing. Okay. Other times, they may just be a go taker. And there's someone who you're going to, what I call lovingly let go of, right? And release. And it means that you're always going to be kind and friendly, but you don't need to be interacting and doing business with them. And if that's not someone that you would want in your network. And the great thing about doing business as a go-giver is you tend to attract more go-givers into your life naturally because you attract what you put out. But that doesn't mean that happens all the time. And you can attract takers and go takers. So you need to be aware. But by and large, what you focus on, you get. And you tend to attract, the more of the go-givers into your life. The others kind of weed themselves out.
Fantastic. And Andrea Silvers asked, in your opinion, what are some common mistakes that people make when trying to influence others? And how can these be avoided?
So there's one major mistake, and that's trying to influence someone by focusing on what you want. Because remember, they're not going to do that. Dale Carnegie said it best in his 1937 classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that is, ultimately, people do things for their reasons, not our reasons. And we ignore that element of human nature at our peril. So the great influencer always asks themselves questions to make sure they're focused in the right direction. See, we need to be internally motivated, but outwardly focused. So we always need to ask ourselves, how does what I'm asking this person to do, how does it align with their goals? With their needs, their wants, their desires? How does what I want this other person to do, how does it align with their values? What problems am I helping them to solve? How am I moving them closer to happiness and helping them get what they want? And when we ask ourselves these questions thoughtfully, intelligently, genuinely, authentically, right? Not as a way to manipulate another human being into doing our will, but as a way of building everyone in the process. Now we've come a lot closer to earning that person's commitment to our idea.
Oh, fantastic. And Josh Belter asked, how has the message and impact of the Go-Giver evolved since its initial publication in 2007?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think it has evolved, because we based these on principles and universal laws. And while strategies and techniques and tactics evolve depending upon the medium, universal laws and principles like gravity and such, they pretty much stay the same. So what will evolve is how they're utilized. That will always evolve, right? Because human beings aren't through creating stuff yet. But the actual principles in the Go-Giver, they won't evolve. They'll stay exactly as they are.
Fantastic. So yeah, we talked about the law of value, the law of compensation, the law of influence, and I want to switch gears to the law of authenticity, which states that the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself.
Yeah.
Can you please just
Sure.
expatiate in that for us?
Sure. And I'm going to have to apologize in advance because I have like 5 more minutes before I need to leave. And so I apologize. The law of authenticity says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself, which means, and this is what Deborah Davenport, one of the mentors in the story, discovered, that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting. And people crave consistency. Why? Because people want to make sense of their world in a world that often doesn't make sense, right? They want consistency in a world that's often inconsistent. So when you show up as you, the best possible you can be, they know who they're getting. They, you know, that's how trust is built and how trust is maintained.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. And just to wrap it up, the law of receptivity, it says that the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. This was the most shocking one for me personally, because I've always had a lot of reluctance to accepting when receiving gift, but this changed the game for me completely, because it's a cycle, you know, it's connected, and I have to be willing. We all have to be willing to receive to effectively give. So can you please just explain it in your words?
Well, like Pindar told Joe, you know, it's understanding that, you breathe out, you also have to breathe in. It's not one or the other, it's both. So we breathe out carbon dioxide, we breathe in oxygen. We breathe out, which is giving, we breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. They're actually two sides of the same coin. Unfortunately, the world around us doesn't give us that message, do they? We live in a very anti-prosperity type of environment where people are always kind of looking down their noses at people who make money and who they must have done something nefarious or taken advantage of someone, or, you know, hey, it's a big world. There's people who do lousy things that we don't agree with. But by and large, you know, so to make a lot of money, you've got to basically serve a lot of people, and you got to serve them well. You make it about them. You come at it authentically. But once you do that, you need to then get past all those negative messages, right, that society gives us, and allow yourself to receive. And it's very emotional, because from the time, you know, again, that we're little kids and growing up, and the messages we get from the world, you know, there's all these terrible messages regarding money and prosperity, and that gets into the unconscious. So it's very easy when you think about, you know, the messages you see everywhere in movies, where there's always, you know, the poor people are always good, but suffering and honest and happy and poor and whatever. And they're always being taken advantage of by the evil rich people who are mean and nasty and cowardly and have no soul, right? Those are the messages we get all the time. How can that not get into people's unconscious? And that's why people will kind of sabotage the process a lot of times when they've really earned the right to be prosperous, or maybe they've had messages given to them that they were not worthy of earning a lot of money and being happy and being prosperous and being successful. So what we need to do is make a study of prosperity, because the yucky messages we get all the time. Just watch the news, go on social media, be in conversations and so forth, and you'll see all the negative messages about money. But what if instead we study people, prosperity authorities like Randy Gage and David Nagel and Sharon Lechter and Ellen Rogan and the late Bob Proctor and Ken Honda and all these wonderful people who write and speak and blog and post and do videos on prosperity, right? And we start getting all that good information into our heads and into our hearts. And we start questioning our premises. So when we hear someone say something like, oh, millionaires shouldn't exist, okay, well, let's ask ourselves the question, why? Who does that serve for millionaires not to exist? I mean, if the millionaire made their money through thievery, they should be in jail. But most millionaires made their money by providing a product that other people want, right? Mm-hmm. And not only that, but they were able to employ a lot of people. And those people were able to buy groceries and clothes and all these different things that help support other jobs and other people. And you think of all the good it does when someone creates something so special that they become a millionaire and all the people that it helped. So we just want to start questioning our premises. And when we hear something or see something that's anti-prosperity, don't just accept it because you hear it, but ask questions. And again, put all the good stuff into our heads, right? And go that route. So
you're kind. I know you want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. I wish I could stay longer, but I have a 7 o'clock, and I need to. I apologize.
No worries. You've already shared so many gems with us that's going to stay with us for a long time. Thank you for taking the time out to really share with this community. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much, Bob.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Wishing you stratospheric success. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And with that, I guess we'll go right into the interaction part of our meetup. Is there a way to convert this to like just a regular Zoom so that everybody could talk and
you just invite everyone as a panelist?
You can just promote everybody to panelists so that folks can really interact and come on video if they need to. But I hope that you got one or two things out of that conversation with Bob. I mean, the book has been so instructive for me. It's been just an incredible book it's been a guide to the way that I approach life and business in general. And I know that same is true for many of my partners and other folks at XSITE Capital. So as we have folks join, please feel free to come on video or just unmute your audio and introduce yourself. This is the meetup part of the meetup, where folks, we get to know each other a little bit. The XSITE Capital team has had the fortune of being the ones on video this entire time. Please join us. We are more than happy to chat with you. I don't want to have to call folks out, but there are a lot of fun people in the audience, and we want to get to know you. We want to hear about the things that you're doing in business, at work, with real estate, outside of real estate. There's a lot we could all learn from each other. Clarence, I see you're on video, so I always give the video folks the first opportunity to introduce themselves. Go ahead, Clarence.
Julius, Dr. Julius,
yes,
XSITE Capital. I am thrilled, as always, to link up with you guys. Love to see what you're doing. That was an amazing guest that you brought on, Mr. Bob Burg. My mother actually gave me that book. I want to say it was 2009, and the concepts in it just absolutely mind blowing. For you to have him here, that was absolutely amazing to hear, through his words. So no, I really appreciate that. What am I working on? Right now, I work for a commercial brokerage. So I'm, always, helping folks out with some underwriting, doing some market analysis. You see what's going on in office spaces right now. So doing a lot of work with that across the country. I'm actually underwriting a deal so I'm in technology. So I'm probably going to purchase a e-commerce website. So that's pretty cool. And then I had a friend that's getting ready to sell his 51 unit and thought of me. So We'll see where that goes.
That's fantastic. Those are all great things happening. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about the office space? I mean, obviously it's a lot of gloom and doom predictions right now. For someone who is as experienced as yourself, and that's in with commercial real estate in general, what are your thoughts? I'm just curious.
It's going to be really, really, really interesting. Washington, D.C., as a matter of fact, they put some things in place. They're giving some developers, builders, unique folks in the space that they're giving them tax credits in order to convert a lot of those office spaces into multifamily. And those tax credits and everything are coming from places like DC that have a higher homeless population. So you'll start to see that like in LA, definitely in DC right now. We literally worked on a deal in DC, and I think in Houston as well. So that's one huge thing. And then where it kind of goes from there, I don't know. You see folks trying to bring people back into the office now. I see there's some finagling around of different things, but no, I think that'll be the most interesting thing is the conversions. That'll be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, me and my partners were just talking about that like this past weekend about that trend, and then the fact that there's a lot of buzz about many of these offices that are sitting empty being converted to apartments, and that's going to be a very interesting trend to watch. Thanks so much for sharing those insights, Clarence. Really appreciate you.
I got a question for Clarence. How did you originally get your start?
How did I get my start? Actually coming here. Yeah, I got my start coming here. What was it? It was New Year's Day. What, a year ago or 2 years ago? Now I've met the great doctors, and they offered, some help. They were go giving, and just so happens that Tenny is in the same city as me, and we just sat and he got me going, and that was it. That's the story from there.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, I guess that has just made the entire night worth it, just hearing that, because when we started the company, our goal was to give as much value as we could to as many people as we could, because we saw a significant gap in the knowledge of within our professional and outside communities with regards to commercial real estate, particularly multifamily real estate. And so we see more and more people that look like us, that work like us, that work, have the same types of jobs as us, now interested in this space. And we just continue to get super excited with every new person that takes interest and wants to grow their mind and grow their wealth, particularly in this asset class. Thank you, Clarence. Really appreciate those insights. And anybody else? Well, I see a very important person in the a VIP, as far as I'm concerned, in the audience right now. Dr. Nkem Eziamama. I was just at one of the webinars that she set up this past week, and it was incredible. I see you still at work. And
I sure am.
She's doing some really cool
Hold on,
things. No worries. She's doing some really cool things with her company. And so, Dr. Nkem, go for it. Chat with us.
Hi, guys.
What are you doing?
Say that again.
I said, please chat with us.
I'll tell you what I'm doing.
The things you've been doing. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me step out real quickly because it's pretty noisy over here.
No worries.
It's a little chilly outside. I didn't know you were going to call on me, but yay. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. So my name's Nkem. I think I've met some of you awesome people on the chat, but I'm an ER physician at work today, but able to sneak out and able to listen to Bob Burg and all the good things that he had to say. But I am super grateful for you guys. I started out as a limited partner, and actually my first deal was with you guys. And And then it just blossomed from there. And I felt that there was like a strong need for what I was doing, what I was benefiting, and I kind of wanted to share it with the world. So recently just moved to active investing, and it's been interesting. The past few months, it's kind of just been laying a foundation for how I want the business to go, and then kind of going from there. I have some big goals coming up, so I'm just excited to kind of see it all bear fruit. But that's kind of where I am. And I was gonna say, in terms of this meetup, I really, even though I was at work, I really wanted to come and kind of hear what he had to say, because I remember reading the book. I was hiking in Peru and I listened to it twice because I was just enamored by what he had to say. Because I don't think, at least for me, speaking personally, I don't think that my normal is a go-giver. And so just learning that concept and really understanding what it is, and understanding that, like, the more you give, the more you get, it kind of changes your perspective. And it's not even about just getting or taking, as he says, but it's just like lives are changed, the world is changed when we kind of change that mentality. And I think about you guys, I'll just kind of wrap it up. I just think about you guys because I have gotten so much value from your teachings, just like learning from all three of you. And it's just been kind of exciting to be like a product of what you guys are doing. And it really just excites me. So I'm super grateful. And I won't ever stop coming to any of these because I just think that you guys give a ton of value, and that whenever I can make it, I will always be there.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Dr. Nkem at work and still making it happen. Well, continue to go save lives and preserve lives over there. It's really cool. I was moved incredibly when I was just on her platform, chatting with folks, in her community of investors. And I mean, what a powerful exchange, and what a powerful way to provide value to a ton of people. So I just like I told you, I think you're going to do some amazing things in the space. We look forward to cheering you on. We're certainly some of your biggest cheerleaders for sure. Anyone else who wants to unmute and just introduce themselves? I see Ende in Kimbang, or Kimbang, who I read all your posts on LinkedIn and I get a lot of value from them. So Ende, if you want to just say something, please feel free to. I know you may or may not be in a space where you can.
Hey, hello.
What's up, man? How you doing today?
Hey, how are you doing, Dr. Julius? Yeah, thank you again for this platform and opportunity. And yeah, so for myself, I'd been seeing what XSITE had been doing for a couple of years and just kind of staying in the back. Actually, you probably know Leslie's my cousin. So seeing what they were doing, and I was like, initially I was like, yeah, this isn't possible. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't think that's possible for me. And then after just sitting in the background for like 2 years, came back like the prodigal son, and I was like, hey, Leslie, I'm trying to understand now. It's beginning to make sense to me. Because like for me, I had really been focusing on like single family rentals, house hacking. And in my head, I was like, I would just house hack till the day I die and I'll be good, until I was doing some calculations one day and I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work out.
Math is not mathing.
The math was not mathing, exactly. Yeah, so with that, like I had some like-minded partners, some people that I had went to school with, who's a broker focused in real estate. And so with all of us, we're all actually engineers, and kind of what we noticed is that there's that concept of like passive income is not that's really common. And it's like, hey, it's just work more, get a promotion, get a little bit of more money. And it's like, how do you actually build that passive income? So that's where we have just started to kind of follow in those same process and bring that knowledge into our community as well, just kind of teaching and just providing that value. So an overall platform, in that campaign, it's fine if I didn't say that already.
Well, we definitely remember that name. You're gonna be hearing about it for a long time. I just want to commend your consistency on LinkedIn and on your platforms. You've definitely stayed consistent. You are showing up and showing out, and I think your message is resonating with your target audience. I'm just impressed because the journey of 1,000 steps usually starts with the first of 1,000 miles usually starts with that first step. You've certainly taken the first step and the next one, and you continue to move. I think at this point you're actually at you're taking nice strides, a nice jog, and soon you're gonna be sprinting. So I'm watching what you're doing and certainly cheering you on. So thank you for taking the time.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, great. And if anybody else wants to, I see a few of our co-general partners in the audience. Dr. Femi Adewale, I think, is still in the attendees. He never moved on to the panelists. Maybe he's away from his computer. Dr. Audley Mackel is a fantastic mentor and someone I've looked up to for a long time. Marshall Lakane, it's good to see you all. A long-time XSITE investor. Anybody else wants to chime in and say anything? I want to be respectful of your time. George Camter, you want to say anything? George may be away from his phone. Maybe feel free to unmute and say something, Mr. Julius.
No, I'm here, guys. I'm actually working in the middle of a meeting, so
okay, no worries.
I'm just chiming in the background, guys. Just chiming in. But I can do a quick introduction of myself. My name is George Kemper. Currently working in IT as a cloud engineer. Haven't quite stepped into the real estate as far as like an investor yet, but I'm still tapping in, just still learning, just still trying to grow my mindset every day. So I try to chime into you guys' meeting. I definitely was chiming into Bob's conversation. Definitely got a lot of good insight, learned a few good things. So definitely, just as I mentioned, just continuing to stay on the path of just growth and just growing my mindset. So just in the background right now, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Julius Smith.
Hey George, when you get a chance, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let's connect, okay?
I will do.
All right.
Julius Smith.
Hello, everyone. How's it going today?
How are you? My name's Rick. How are you?
Yes. Well, my name is Julius Smith, as you said, and I'm not new to XSITE. I've been following you all for a while. Kind of like George, I haven't really stepped into the real estate arena just yet, but that's my plans. So I'm just getting all the knowledge that I can and just still, learning how to analyze deals and different things of that nature, and just ready to find that deal that can, that looks good and I can, jump into it. But just trying to make sure that I have the knowledge that I need to be successful, but your platform has really been an inspiration. I'll say that for sure. I'm an analyst for Verizon Connect. So I do have a 9-to-5 that I'm very comfortable with, and I'm good, but I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I am a veteran, I'm a retired Marine. So I have a lot of experience under my belt, but I just eventually want to get into the real estate game and kind of be on my own accord, not working for someone. But I really appreciate all the information and insight that you all give. When I get a chance to get onto the meetups, I do definitely join. And today was definitely a great one. So I appreciate everything.
Thank you so much, Julius. Really appreciate it. And thank you for your service. thanks for taking the time to chat with us. You in the same kind of category as our one and only Kevin Brown, who's a retired naval officer also and part of the XSITE team. We had a nice little opportunity to all get together as the XSITE team this past weekend, and we had a great swell old time. It was fantastic. So, MG, would you want to say a few things or? I guess he may be away from his phone.
Chairman, if you don't mind, 1 second. And then Julius Smith, if you need any additional help with your journey, and do not hesitate to reach out to any member of our team. As you can see, we're here. We don't just want to give value to people when we meet on this meetup. Reach out to us, interact with us, ask us questions. And we'll be willing to share with you a lot of our experiences, and hopefully we can learn how we can help you going forward as well. And it applies to everybody on the call as well. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, awesome. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks
for adding that, Tenny. Really appreciate that. That definitely is very true. And Manny also is obviously a part of the XSITE team. He's our Julius underwriter and one of the secret sauces of XSITE. Make sure that our underwriting is nice and conservative and very relevant, and allows us to get the deal flow that we currently have. I think everybody else that is on the panelist side has spoken. Semi Ajao, we thank you for joining us. Dr. Michael Marshall, Dr. Adewale, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and everybody else that's spoken to, including all of the XSITE team members. We appreciate you all. I'm going to give everybody some time back to, to go do whatever you need to do. We don't take this for granted that you joined us at this exciting World of Multifamily meetup. We look forward to continuing to serve you. We look forward to continuing to give value to you. We look forward to continuing to place your interests first. We look forward to showing up as ourselves, as our authentic self, and playing full out. And we certainly look forward to giving and receiving from you, because just as the law of receptivity says, the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. So let's continue to collaborate. Let's continue to grow together. And hopefully we'll continue to hear this testimonials of people who have come here, learned about commercial real estate, gone into the world of commercial real estate, and done incredible things. We'll continue to celebrate you. And until next time, have a fantastic time. And